German Expressionism is an iconic movement that has become a source of inspiration for genres like horror and noir. But how has the movement evolved and continued to inspire filmmakers? We can see this representation through the American director Tim Burton. Lori Eisner, a German film critic, labeled it as Hell-Dunkel, defined by her as a sort of twilight of the German soul, expressing itself in shadowy enigmatic interiors or in misty insubstantial landscapes. Conventions of this movement include chiaroscuro lighting, an Italian term used to describe the use of low and high contrast light, the use of shadows, surrealistic settings that are distorted and have sharp angles, and as Pam Cook describes, the extreme stylization of mise-en-scène. High tilted and experimental angles, the use of visuals as a representation of the characters' emotions and how they perceive the world. The plots tackling the themes of madness, insanity, and betrayal, and the films portraying emotions instead of realism. We can see how these conventions of 1920s German Expressionist films have influenced Burton's filmmaking, especially through the quintessential German Expressionist film, The Cabinet of Dr. Caligari, and his 1988 horror comedy, Beetlejuice. The Cabinet of Dr. Caligari's historical context takes place during post-World War I Germany. Due to the defeat of the country during the war, Germany faced economic hardships, societal dishevelment and low morale, and shortage of basic needs, where the country was in a catastrophic state. This caused Germany to become an isolationist country, banning all imports, including foreign-made films. This forced German filmmakers to branch out on their own, to create original films, as expressionist art sought a new meaning. Due to this, the demand of German films exponentially increased. Germany went from producing 24 films in 1914 to 130 in 1918. The Cabinet of Dr. Caligari, set in a rural village of Germany, follows the story of two young men, Francis and Alan, who visit a fair and encounter the performance of a hypnotist named Dr. Caligari on a man named Caesar, who predicts that Alan would be murdered that night. That night, Caesar abducts Francis' fiancée, Jane, evidently displaying how Caligari was manipulating Caesar to carry out the murders. The themes of authority and conformity in the Cabinet of Dr. Caligari clearly reflect the cultural context of post-World War I Germany. Meanwhile, Beetlejuice takes place in America during the 1980s, in a rural area of Orange County, Vermont. During this time, America was under Ronald Reagan's presidency, where conservative politics and Reaganomics controlled America. Although, these traditional values were being threatened by the modern popular culture, which Beetlejuice became a large part of. America became a culture of consumption. For some, shopping became a religion, and the shopping mall the new American church, as reflected in the film by the decoration of the home and the costuming. Beetlejuice revolves around Adam and Barbara, a recently deceased couple who are trapped in their home as ghosts. After their death, the Deeds move in and redecorate the house, to which the couple do not like or accept, and attempt to scare them away. Due to their unsuccessful attempts, the couple seek help from a bioexorcist ghost named Beetlejuice. Lydia, the Deeds' daughter, a quirky and misunderstood teenager, forms a special bond with the couple and helps them. Due to Beetlejuice's harmful tactics, which affect the living and the dead, Lydia and the couple are eventually able to get rid of him. Both these films are highly relevant to the topic of the video essay, as they are able to represent how Burton has been inspired by the German Expressionist movement in his films, concretely Beetlejuice, through original Expressionist films such as The Cabinet of Dr. Caligari. The films follow several conventions of the movement, such as the use of chiaroscuro lighting, the film's display of emotions instead of realism, the use of exaggerated and unrealistic makeup and costuming, and surrealistic and distorted set designs. The Cabinet of Dr. Caligari and Beetlejuice use mise-en-scène and lighting to portray the conventions of German Expressionism, in essence representing Burton's influences of the movement in his filmography. Initially, as seen through mise-en-scène, the Cabinet of Dr. Caligari uses expressionist sets, which are characterized by twisted, angular lines and shapes, often featuring distorted and exaggerated, unrealistic architecture. In addition, the claustrophobic sets reinforce the confinement and paranoia experienced by characters. These evoke a sense of unease and anxiety, a reflection of the German mindset and moral of the time. Similarly, Beetlejuice features elaborate surreal sets, which created a whimsical yet ominous and grotesque environment, creating confusing and contrasting feelings, a reflection of the clash in America between conservatives and popular culture during the 1980s. In addition, they enable the audience to view the characters' worlds through their emotions. When Barbara and Adam first arrive to the world of the dead, searching for a room to find their caseworker in a hallway. The depiction of a tilted and unproportional hallway with the checkerboard floor conveys the emotions of unsettlement, confusion, and cluelessness the couple is currently experiencing. Moreover, the raw decoration of the mainland home, with tilted walls, unconventional designs, and exaggerated and surreal decoration, not only display a clear inspiration from the cabinet of Dr. Caligari's set design, but also reflect the beginning of the consumptionist American society. When it comes to costuming and makeup, the cabinet of Dr. Caligari's characters display exaggerated and stylized makeup and costumes, which mirror the angular geometric shapes of the sets in order to emphasize the psychological states of the characters, particularly in the case of Caesar, a reflection of the suffrage of the German population post-World War I. Whilst in Beetlejuice, the characters' exaggerated costuming and makeup are used to highlight the secludedness of characters. In the case of Adam and Barbara, their mundane looks in the world of the dead cause them to stand out and disassociate from the exaggerated and distorted features they are seeing in the characters, which are built through the makeup and costuming. Whereas Lydia's dark makeup and costuming, similar to Caesar's makeup, isolate her and portray her as an outcast in contrast to the mundane world she is living in. The cabinet of Dr. Caligari utilizes chiaroscuro lighting, which is the use of high and low contrast light, to create stark contrast between light and shadow, emphasizing the psychological or emotional states of the characters. The use of this lighting technique intensifies the sense of unease, dread, and madness. In addition, the chiaroscuro lighting is also utilized to emphasize the facial and bodily expressions of the characters, in order to convey their emotions and feelings. The use of chiaroscuro lighting in the color green in Beetlejuice is used as a leitmotif of the character of Beetlejuice, whilst also highlighting the presence and the power that the character has over the world of the living and the dead, as the color green is the color mostly associated with Beetlejuice. Once Beetlejuice is defeated, he is sent to the waiting room that Barbara and Alan were once sent to at the beginning of the film. Although, now that Beetlejuice has lost the abilities and the powers that he once had over the world of the dead, we can see how, in contrast to the beginning of the film, where the waiting room was once lightened using chiaroscuro lighting in the color green, now it is lightened in darker tones, appearing as ambient light as Beetlejuice has been defeated. To conclude, the influence of the German Expressionist movement on the filmmaker Tim Burton is foreseen, as is the evolution of the movement, alluding back to the historical context of the cabinet of Dr. Caligari and Beetlejuice. Through the use of chiaroscuro lighting, the display of emotions instead of realism, the exaggerated and unrealistic makeup and costuming, and the surrealistic and distorted set designs, Burton's 1988 Beetlejuice displays a clear inspiration from the quintessential German Expressionist film, The Cabinet of Dr. Caligari, contributing to Burton's niche and unique aesthetics of his filmography.